Domino! Bucko, give me them Pokemon cards!
Man,
like no
again.
one ever was. Do.
Yo, dudes!
Ooh, I'm never gonna get used to that.
Hey, Double D.
Where's J-Man?
Well, Baxman's got him searching for nostalgic treasures. He's been kind of in a little funk lately, but who is Baxman?
And where's Olga?
Give it up, dude.
It's not happening.
Not to fret. Olga sent me with something pretty radical. She said you need to catch the 80s vibe.
What is it?
It's rad. It's rad.
What is it called?
It's called RAD, dudes. Here you go.
No way. Have you seen this?
What is it?
It's RAD.
Dude, is it any good?
BMX freestyle forever.
If you say so, man.
Yo, send me an angel.
Well, time's up. Gotta go, dudes. Stay nostalgic. Welcome back to the basics.
Friends, family,
And fellow nostalgia warriors.
today we're going balls out, traveling back to the 80s
1986.
to explore the cult classic film RAD,
A true underdog story.
about a boy and his bike.
Chasing his dreams.
So send me an angel.
Because we're about to break the ice.
So let's BMX boogie. Shout out to Double D, J-Man, and Olga for recommending one of the greatest cult classics to spring to bunny hop out of the 80s, man.
Bunny hop, BMX, bikes, this movie, RAD. I had never seen it before, man.
I'm so happy to be able to bring that into your mind because I was thinking about it, man, and I was like, for one, we kind of stick to the 90s here on the show on B2DB, and the 80s though is such a vibe.
You're not wrong there. I love the 90s for sure. Some of the best years, right? But something about the 80s and 80s movies in general just hits different.
There's something about RAD that encapsulates perfectly the culture of the day.
There is a lot of just 80s themes of being outside and again with like the family and physical touch, and there's a lot in this movie that just screams like time period, timepiece.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that sticks out to me the most are the names of the characters.
You mentioned that when we were watching it. We put it on here in the dojo and we were like, let's check this out. Double D traveled all the way back into time and said, you gotta watch this.
Crew, Rex, Rod, Duke.
One, okay, Cher, like what is going on here?
It's just...
Where do you get these guys?
It screams 80s. I mean, one of the most iconic scenes of 80s films. Send Me an Angel, BMX Boogie, the dance scene. We'll get into that a little later, but a lot of the actors, I think the whole story, not in the actual film, but the story about the production, the story of just how everything came to be, to me is really fascinating. Like the film aspect.
Yeah, we had to do a little research on it, right? Because I've never seen this movie. I didn't know anything about it. So it was my first time watching it. We did a little bit digging. We found out some things that we're going to talk about. But it's one of those cult classic bombs of the 80s.
Something here in the dojo that we constantly keep forefront is we, for some reason, love box office failures.
If it's bad, we love it.
And this film is something special because it came out in the theaters and it was at like a really weird time where there was really no movies like this about the BMX bike culture. And I think there was one other film that kind of beat it to theaters. It was a BMX Bandits. And I haven't seen that movie.
I've never heard of it either, man.
And I think there was another one around the same time where skateboards called Thrashing. Like Josh Brolin or
I've
something.
heard of that one.
I want to see that one day.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we should definitely check out BMX Bandits too. It sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I'd be down to watch that.
I feel like there's like this rivalry though, and I'm like Team Rad. I'm Team Rad. I'm Team Crew.
Well, it's got a really epic like movie poster, bro. Like that is just a poster right there.
Yeah.
It's really cool. The colors. It just encapsulates everything about like the 90s and the time.
Starting out in the beginning of this film, with the paperboy scenes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm a little off kilter with this, but I feel like there was like some like ET vibes as far as the
100%.
as far as the neighborhood.
Yeah.
They have this like filter on the sky where the sky looks red. Almost sci-fi. Like it was, I think they were going for like dusk.
It was a director choice. Yeah.
Even though I think it was first thing in the morning. Like they're drinking, like the mayor's got coffee or whatnot.
What's funny is you go from shot to shot and the sky will be blue, but then it'll be red. And then the camera moves and you see like the change in the filter. It's just really weird. If you notice, you notice.
I actually like it though.
It's really good.
It gives it a very 80s vibe.
I like the whole opening scene before the paperboy scene with just the BMX bikes like montage with the song. And that's something obviously
they're just sitting there bunny hopping and there's like smoke everywhere. And it's just it starts off with a specific vibe. Yeah. And you had mentioned something when we were watching it. You're like, look at how it's focusing on the bikes.
Yes.
Not the riders per se, but the bikes.
Specifically, because they cut out the riders, the people who are actually doing the tricks, and it's just zoomed in. It's a shot of just the bikes going around in circles and the bunny hopping and everything. And it just really like put that on the forefront.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's bike culture.
Yeah.
And I think this was like before Mongoose even became big. How Mongoose is like the big like bike company.
Did he have a Huffy to begin with in the beginning?
Personally, I don't think Huffy was in the movie at all.
Maybe not.
It was just Mongoose.
Yeah.
Mongoose and Coca-Cola. Everywhere in that movie.
I think they go sue somebody. For sure.
I think it's a little too late, but box office failure. I think it was like a $3 million movie. It made $2 million at the box office.
It cost that much money to make this movie? Crazy.
One of the craziest things is how after it failed in the box office, it went to home video. You know what I'm saying? Oh God, that just gives me chills. Oh, home video on VHS.
Yeah.
So crazy. Blockbuster, the great days of rentals. Be kind and rewind. Is for 2 years straight, it was in the top 20 movie rentals.
Which is crazy.
2 years straight.
And the fact that it did so bad in the movie theaters, but then ruled the video rental scene, that's just, it's kind of unheard of. Because if it bombs at the box office, it's a bomb.
I think a lot of it was, I just got like chills. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I think a lot of it was, the critics said the movie was pointless. The film critics. Because they didn't understand the culture.
I see.
So the director, Hal Needham.
Needham.
This dude is a freaking rock star in Hollywood.
He's a stunt specialist.
Yeah.
Right?
So for those who don't know, this director who directed this film directed Smokey and the Bandit 1 and 2.
Yep.
Cannonball Run.
1
and 2. And so he to me, I kind of gave you this analogy of like, this is a dude that makes movies about a man and his car.
Yeah.
And this film is about a boy and his bike.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely some correlation. And he brought that experience of filming vehicles in motion. I was listening to an interview and he talks about how he was like, I understand camera angles. He was like, to make a car seem faster, you bring the camera down. To make it seem slower, you bring the camera up. And so like he knows the whole
shooting
philosophy.
it from a different side.
Yeah, the whole philosophy about how to capture the motion of a vehicle. And so he brought that into this with the BMX riders.
The BMX bikes.
The race.
And it was really interesting that, you know, at the end, whoever wins what is the name of the whole course? The ending race?
Hell Track.
Hell Track. So whoever wins Hell Track actually wins what? A Corvette? Or they win some car at the end. So now
it was a Corvette.
Yeah. So
Red
a boy
Corvette
and his bike, but the main prize is a car.
Yeah.
So he still kept that like, hey, cars in his movie, which was really interesting. I noticed that once you had told me that about it a little bit. But the whole movie, much like I think movies in the 80s, and maybe it's just because the score is so great, but it felt like it was just like 0 to 100 real quick. Like the whole movie was just like do 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 do. And all of a sudden they were just in the bike race. And I was just like, wait, what? What is going on?
Definitely goes fast. So the main actor, the main actor who plays Crew,
Bill
Allen.
Yeah.
And he said in an interview how the way Hal is as a director is he knows what he wants as far as what shots he wants. They didn't do a lot that was like not used, right?
Yeah.
And so he mentioned something very interesting on how that type of directing is good because it's bing, bang, boom, on to the next.
Yeah.
But certain things may get glossed over. And the pacing of the film is a bit interesting because it's like it sets it up and you're like, okay, Crew, he's on his paper route. You see his little gang of misfits, his friends, right? His friend and his girlfriend, I think.
Yeah.
And
who doesn't want anything to do with him? Like his girlfriend at the
Crew's
time.
girlfriend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to show off for her.
Well, I was talking about the friend.
New girl.
No. His little paper boy Crew.
Yes.
It's like his friend and then his friend's girlfriend is like that's their trio.
Yeah. The three of them.
And then you have his sister, and that's where I think I got a lot of the E.T. vibes. It's like the younger sister always pops in and kicking people in the shins and like, hey, and cussing, you know.
She was a really interesting character for me, bro.
She had a lot of spirit. Like she was very
spunk.
Yeah, angsty.
Yeah.
And I think she brought a lot of that to that screen. She kind of captured she took
that bratty little sister role.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great.
And they're in high school. And he's trying to go after the girl, and the girl's just like, as if, like, get out of my face. You're nothing.
She says the worst mistake I've ever made.
One thing that was interesting is she's walking home from school. She's got it's like the 80s. She's got her binders in her hand, right?
Books.
Her 80s hair. And you see Crew, he's like flipping his bike, doing bunny hops. He's like trying to impress her. And he was like, come on, so are you going to am I going to take you to the dance? And she says, what are you going to do? Pick me up on your bike? And he goes, yeah. And it is
it's the cheesiest thing.
Bill Allen brought such energy to that character. Like Crew is just like, yeah, like it's so cool. I really just vibe with him.
He's a really positive character throughout the whole movie. He just wants to like prove himself. I thought it was really interesting throughout the whole movie. In the beginning half, he's late to everything.
There's that theme. He's definitely late. He's not good enough. He doesn't meet expectations.
He missed his SATs the first time, right? And his mom's on him to take the SATs, and like he's just not hitting what society thinks he should be doing.
Small town. It was in Canada. This was shot in Canada. And I think there were some shots, which I think is the intro and outro of the BMX riders that were in California. You got that beach vibes.
There's people running by in the background. I was like, what?
So a lot of this film apparently is like loosely based off of this writer named Eddie.
Ah!
And interestingly enough, there's like this crazy inception. So the writer Bill Allen plays Crew, the main character, is loosely based off of Eddie
Viola, something like that. Yeah.
And he plays Crew's stunt double
in the movie. And he's in it a lot,
and
too.
he's also his own bike rider in the movie.
He's just all over this movie, dude.
So like the inception of the movie is based off him, but he's in playing himself, but the stunt double, it is just like a little dangerous there. And it's just so much fun. And I know a lot of the riders are actual BMX riders. Like these weren't actors on bikes.
Yeah, they hired actual
besides Lori. Full House, right?
Lori! Becky! Oh, don't get me started on Lori.
She was an actor, obviously, so she wasn't flipping and doing stuff. It was a dude in a wig.
Crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
On a bike.
And you can see anytime she's on the bike, it's
you just see the shoulders.
It's body up. Body up. Yeah. And it's just really funny.
And then you got Bill Allen, he was the actor, and then you had the Olympic gymnast who played kind of the bad guy, but he wasn't a bad guy.
No, it felt like he was just like, oh, well, this is like what they want me to do, but I'm not really like here for it. The beginning part though, he's very like cocky.
Well, he's the star.
He's the man. Bart the man.
Bart
right?
the man.
Yep, Bart the man. And so, yeah, he has girls on his arms pretty much the whole time, and he's trying to go after Becky.
Yeah,
Lori, whatever the girl's name. What is her name in the movie? I don't even know. It's Lori in the movie? No, her real name's Lori.
Oh. I don't know.
Yeah, I never learned it.
Mongoose girl.
Mongoose. Yeah, she has that skin tight mongoose outfit at the end, and I was just like, what is going on?
So good.
But he's trying to go after her, and she doesn't want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
Much like Crew's girlfriend doesn't want anything to do with him either.
Yeah.
And so eventually they end up becoming a thing. Crew and Aunt Becky. We're just going to call her
You
Aunt
over-rotated. No shit.
And that's something in this movie a lot. They just cussing, especially the little girl. Shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
It's very 80s culture, man.
It was crazy. It was wild. But there's those 80s themes, right? Of family and love and physical affection that we have talked about before. And also the parents wanting their kids to build a better life for themselves.
Yeah.
Right? I know we talked a little bit about that. And the mom is just like, no, you have to do this.
So that is Adrian, the mother, right? She's Adrian. And something that's cool about her, which I didn't know until we did the research for this movie, is as Francis Ford Coppola's sister.
Who?
What? Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah.
She's a Coppola. And I just thought that was wild. I didn't know that.
And she's in, what did you say? Like the 3 biggest award or something.
I think like film of the year type or
3 times.
Yeah.
Like 3 main films that won a certain thing.
At this point in her career, she was big.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was huge. And so she was like the biggest star on set.
Yeah.
And so you have her and then her son, Crew. I think he was just at that point, Bill Allen was just like on TV shows and stuff.
Yeah,
So
it seems like
interesting dynamic.
It seems like he would be a kind of like a hit sitcom TV show. Like he just pops in, like it's very 80s.
Yeah.
That's what I see him in, and I'm like, I've seen him somewhere before, but I've never even seen this movie, so I don't know.
His whole like style and vibe reminds me a lot of like Karate Kid.
You mentioned that. You were like, it's Karate Kid, but with BMX.
With BMX, yeah. That's what it feels like.
An underdog story.
An underdog story.
Because everybody shits on him the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like,
on the porch, he's throwing freaking his paper
coworkers
everywhere.
Don't like him, right?
No, he's late. He's not good enough. And what's interesting is he tells his mom, like, this is what I'm good at. Like, I have a chance.
He said, I was 1 in 1,000. Now I'm 1 in 20.
After he did the qualifying matches.
Possibly the best in the world.
Crazy.
And he's just trying to convince his mom, like, hey, let me do this.
Yeah.
Like, support me.
Yeah.
Follow my dream. See my vision, because this is the only thing I feel I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tough concept in itself. It's just having your family, people, friends. His friend group does support him, though.
They're the only ones.
They think he's awesome.
Yeah.
They're like, Cruz the man. He can do it.
Yeah, like, I know he's going to do it. Then he had his group of friends, and I love their, like, little headquarters. They're like, keep out. They're like
chilling, reading magazines.
Got a TV and a radio. He's eating Kix cereal. Do they still even sell Kix?
I don't know, man. I haven't seen it. I did see Coca-Cola all over that thing, though. There was Coke everywhere.
It was the 80s. I'm sure there was Coke everywhere. But yeah, the theme of chasing your dreams when everyone around you was like the small town setting, and it was this like, Cruz not good enough. He's slow. He's not on time. He doesn't get my paper on my porch.
I think his coworker said when he was in the race, he was like, I hope he like
loses.
Yeah, like I hope he gets his butt whooped or something like that. Like I hope he fails, which is just very like, it's very telling and it's very real. It's like sometimes your closest people are your least supporters.
Isn't that weird?
That's a strange concept.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I kind of wanted to get into with this film is chasing your dreams and the people that you surround yourself with, you would think that has your back. You would think that they want you to be great, to achieve.
Yeah.
Even if they know you might fail by doing so, go for it.
Yeah. Just tell me I can do it.
Yeah.
And then you'd be surprised how little support can help propel you even further.
Yeah.
And that's where in this film, he had to prove himself before people started to catch the vibe, started to believe in him.
Yeah.
And so it's very like, that's a real thing. And so I feel like they put that in this movie specifically for that reason.
It was written pretty well with that in regard.
Yeah, that's a good message.
There's the whole movie has a positive message. It's the 80s, man, back when the film was good, right?
And yeah, just those underlying stories. And I just really like the way the film was made. So I wanted to get into a little bit of that, right? Because I know when we were doing like research on it, the film and the production side of it itself faced a lot of challenges, a lot of issues, some with like injuries and with budget and money. And I think the other one was disagreements on certain aspects of the script.
Okay.
Like where they wanted to go. I think one of them was the name of the film.
Balls Out.
That's what it was supposed to be, I guess, originally.
I'm so glad they went with RAD.
RAD sounds a lot better.
3 letters that perfectly encapsulates the 80s.
Yeah.
Perfectly. Yeah. Rad. Radical. And
rad.
I love the name drop all throughout the movie. That's rad.
They mention it a lot. Yeah.
And then you have the one time, go balls out. He says it, balls out.
They do a little Easter egg.
Yeah.
It was good.
It's yeah.
It's a damn good film, man. It's a good but there's a lot of wild things in it. Is some strange stuff.
Like what?
Like the guy grabbing the girl's face.
Oh, so you have like these corporate jerks, like these old corporate dudes.
Yeah, who are these dudes?
Well, they're like the sponsors. They're the ones that are putting. So basically, these dudes are putting on this event.
BMX.
They come in with a parade into town.
Yeah.
Blocking off the street.
That's un-American.
Yeah, the girl comes out and she was like, why are you guys blocking the road? And it reminded me about our day and age, how you got all these
people blocking streets and roads. And...
yeah, these people sitting in, blocking traffic, protesting. But at this point, it was like a crowd watching the parade, and she was like, "This is un-American to block traffic." And I was like, God,
it was funny.
God bless the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man,
people stood up for that and said, "Hey, this is freaking un-American. Like, let us drive."
And one of the cool things is Crew says, "I got you." He moves the barricade and lets her drive through. And I believe that's the first moment where Lori looks at him and sees that act.
She noticed him.
She noticed him do something for that lady.
Yeah.
And that was right when she like rolls up the window on Bart. Like he's trying to kiss her and shit.
Yeah.
He's like, get out my face.
Because she saw him just kind of like kissing some other girls,
signing
too.
Autographs, getting kisses on the cheek because he's the man.
Yeah, and she was just like, "Get out of here with that." And so her attention automatically shifts to Crew because she sees he's a good dude.
What about those two chicks that were on Rex and Rod? Those twins, those two girls, just screaming 80s, dude. Like their vibe and their hairstyle. I was like,
I love all the little hints to, and obviously, the movie was made in the 80s, right? So everything in it is 80s. Like they have the people working out, like you got the old workout videos and the spandex and like
it was filmed 1985, released 1986, but watching it now, it's a timepiece. It perfectly encapsulates that time. And like what are those things that you put like
a time capsule?
A time capsule. It's a perfect time capsule back to the mid 80s.
Yeah. And just the whole vibe of it, the music, I just love.
Send me an angel.
Fell in love with, dude. From the first song to the end of the song, it just keeps you in the vibe.
And I knew, because you're all about soundtracks, I knew, I was like, I can't wait.
Hook, line, and sinker,
I
dude.
can't wait. Because Eddie's like, I don't want to watch a movie about bikes. But I was like, just wait until you hear the soundtrack. You're going to be vibing, bro.
I'm a sucker for a good soundtrack, for sure, for sure.
And when it comes to nostalgia, my friend, this is what this movie is known for.
It makes you feel a certain type of way, for sure.
And I can only imagine, like when I put on something from the 90s, Mortal Kombat, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, it takes me back to when I watched that as a kid. You know, this movie was recommended to me in the past, in about 2007, 2008, maybe, around that time. And back in the day, back in my day, I was talking to my coworker about nostalgia, film. You know, if you talk to me, you know, the conversation's usually going to go one way. We talking nostalgia, pop culture stuff. And I remember he was like, "Hey, have you ever seen RAD?" Because he was older than me. He was like, "This is the film I grew up with. This is what is nostalgic to me."
Really cool.
And he brought that to work and he was like, "Watch it." And now this is where I think there's like some sort of glitch in the matrix, right? Because I personally can't remember what type of media he let me borrow.
Oh.
Because when I was doing the research on this movie, something about this movie, and if you look up the VHS of this film, it's super expensive.
Yeah.
Apparently they only created so many. Like I think I saw, I don't know if this is right, but something like 12,000.
So did it ever come out on DVD?
Apparently not. It went from VHS to Blu-ray.
So in 2007, he gave you a VHS and said, "Hey, watch this movie."
It might have been a VHS, or it could have been a ripped version of the VHS on a burned DVD.
Yeah.
That's what I think. It might have been like a burned copy.
Maybe.
I don't know.
That makes sense, though.
It might have been a VHS. And there's some sort of glitch in the matrix. But Roland, if you're out there, thank you for the recommendation, because this movie has, in a roundabout way, can't say changed my life, but it added to my life.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
There's something special about this movie and the cultural impact it had in the bike culture.
Yeah, not just you as a person, but for everyone at the time that it came out, influenced kind of like a movement. Like, I believe when it came out, BMX was still on like the smaller side, right?
People
like
didn't
BMX.
understand it.
Okay. Yeah.
know?
And it got a lot of people into BMX racing
Yeah.
and learning all the tricks and competing and doing all the things like that. And something that I didn't know when I talked to my dad and I was like, hey, we're thinking about doing this episode or whatever. And he was like, your uncle Eddie used to BMX race.
That's crazy.
And I was like, what? Like I had never known that. And he said, yeah, after this movie came out, he was so into RAD, had a RAD poster on his wall, and asked his dad to buy him a BMX bike and build him a bike. And
so the movie influenced him.
Yeah, and my dad too, because they would all ride their bikes together and go to watch my uncle basically compete.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. It's wild. I've never heard that story before.
Nostalgic adventures of self-discovery.
It's definitely influencing me now, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm learning history that I didn't even know.
And I love how you found that out after watching the movie, and it just added so much more because now it's impactful because it impacted your father and your uncle, which that conversation then comes back and impacts you because now you look at it differently.
Yeah, it's definitely a full roundabout way. And much like this story of Crew and nobody believing him and him having this one opportunity, my dad, same thing. Back in the 80s when popping and locking and breakdancing was a thing, he had the opportunity to be in either Beat Street or the other movie that came out around the time, same like this, BMX.
What do you mean in the movie?
He had, so the people
like
who were
auditions?
doing Beat Street and breaking came and they were looking for talent, people who they wanted to be in their movie, whether it be extras or part of the film, to breakdance and pop lock and all that stuff. And my uncle and my dad, they wanted them to be in the movie. And my grandma was like, nah. They're gonna basically take you and you don't know what they're gonna do, right? It's Hollywood.
So much like Adrian, much like Crew's mother,
yes,
was like, no. You need to focus on your education. You need to focus, stay home.
They had a dream, right?
And
society was like, no, do this instead.
Crazy.
Yeah. So it all comes back full circle.
Imagine if they were in that. And still to this day, you can put that movie on and be like
my dad is in Beat Street. Like,
that's crazy.
It'd be wild.
Yeah.
It'd be wild.
In another timeline.
Yeah. I mean, I love my dad popping locks. But yeah, so learning these. Yeah, he still does it, man.
What?
He's a G.
Oh, that's dope.
But learning these things, right? All stemming from watching this film, which I had never seen.
Yeah.
It's just really cool.
I love how you found that puzzle piece of your past through this show.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Nostalgic adventures of self-discovery.
Self-discovery.
That's what it's all about, man.
Yep.
And so when you told me that, like my whole inner nostalgia just lit up. And it's like, this is why we do this.
Yeah.
That's exactly why we do this. And that's super cool. That's a dope ass story.
It's a memory now. It's something that I can associate with this film. And I think you just said that, you mentioned it. But this film, I see, can definitely have impact on a lot of people because it has the message of freedom.
Yeah.
When Crew is on his bike, it's like it's the happiest he's ever been. He's just riding around. He takes his girlfriend on a date and they ride their bikes into the wilderness.
They go ass sliding, and no, it's not the type of ass sliding you're probably thinking about. It's the ass sliding back in the 80s.
Ooh, made that a thing in this movie? Ass sliding?
I don't know, man, but that's the thing. I don't know.
So I guess even in the movie, they wanted it to look a certain way, right? And they couldn't achieve it. And so they took him to like this like sewage slide and they had to build it, right?
Yeah, so they wanted it to be like, they wanted the scene to be a natural waterfall slide.
Like
and
a-
so where he,
yeah.
this epic romantic moment where he takes Lori and he slides down like a waterfall
Yeah.
nature, but then they had to build it, and so it was just like this little pipe and they just hit this ice cold water in Canada, and you obviously see the result. I love that whole scene though.
Yeah,
Where
it
they
gives
go
me
off.
very like Disney, Aladdin, and Jasmine vibes. Like even the song is very similar. It just kind of has like that love aspect to it.
Yeah.
And it's like that special part of the movie. And then everything else is about racing.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, a boy from a small town, and you have this corporation come through, Mongoose, and this girl is sponsored, and she's like, and she talks about going all around the world and
Yeah.
seeing different things, and she was like, oh, this is so beautiful. And to him, he's like, well, this is just home.
Yeah, this is my
You know.
everyday life.
And I love that the opposing side of like, I've never been away from home. This is just my small bubble. And she's just like, oh yeah, I go here and here, and she's touring, and it's that whole, just that opposition is really cool.
And I think even when they start like doing their tricks and they're racing and everything, she even mentions like, hey, you learned in a day what it took me like 6 months to learn.
Because he's a natural.
He's got something special inside of him, which he knows, and he has like that drive to just go and get it done. Like I think he falls when he tries to do that backflip, and she's like, oh, you over pivoted or whatever. Over rotated. And he has that determination to finally stick it and land it.
Yeah.
He's just like, nah, remove the mattresses, right? Take the mattresses out. And he goes back and he keeps doing it and keeps doing it. And he finally sticks it. And so that determination is what drives him throughout the whole film. And you ultimately, obviously, you see him achieve his dreams.
And I think a lot the qualifying race was like wedged in. Like I don't think that was originally part of the film.
It seems like it wasn't supposed to be.
But they're like, no, we need this. It needs to matter. Like it means he needs to make it to Hell Track.
Prove himself.
Yeah.
Because they had those actual professionals, right? But then the town people were like, well, what about our people?
Yeah.
And like, what if our kids could? And they were against it from the beginning. Like the corporate people, they were like, well, I guess. Like
the main corporate guy, he was like, I have millions of dollars already made in advertising with your face on it.
And
so
invested.
Yeah, it's already made. Like, because we're gonna, no matter what, we're gonna rig this.
You need to win.
He tells Rex and Rod, the twins, he was like, you take that boy out.
Yeah.
He was like, and all you have to do to Bart is win. Yeah.
And Bart even waits for him.
You know what's funny? There's a little, but in the community of this film, of the fans, there is this theme of, did crew cheat?
I knew you were gonna bring that up. 100%,
He
bro.
cheated, bro.
He is hopping courses like he's in Mario Kart 64, bro. Like he's going off the red roped.
He's taking
course.
shortcuts. And what I love about that though, is that takes you back to the beginning of the movie where he's doing his paper route. He's not just going down the street. He's jumping through backyards, over fences, through fences, 7-Eleven. And he uses that freestyle, the BMX, he uses that freestyle that he's learned to then adapt it into more of a motocross race. And so this is more of a race. You got to stay in the bounds.
Bro,
you know what
they
I'm
were
saying?
trying to make it so hard for him to even compete. They should have disqualified him from the get-go.
And that's what's wild is like, this dude's just like, they constantly make new rules up.
Yeah.
So he doesn't compete in tail track.
Dude, the whole movie just rules. The rules have changed. These are the rules. Sorry, new rules.
It's that society
I was
thing.
like, what is this?
Where it's the big analogy is like you have your parents, you have these corporate dudes, you have the elders in town constantly telling you, your boss, your coworkers constantly telling you, you're not up to snuff. You're not good enough. You're late, crew. You didn't do the job correctly. You got to do your SATs. Your education matters. Don't draw outside the circles. Stay in bounds.
In your mind box.
Stay in the mind box. And Cruz is like, no, I'm going to take shortcuts. I'm going to do what I have to do, right? Running from the cop, you know what I'm saying, in the lumber yard.
Big boss man
Robotnik.
He 100% looks like
Robotnik. Yeah, he does. He low-key looks more like Robotnik than Jim Carrey.
It's dead on.
Because he has more of that big body.
I was like, the man, big boss man. They say attitude adjustment. I was like, WWE, what? They watched RAD.
I really think that this movie had a bigger impact than we all give it. Like, this movie had a huge impact on a lot of culture, a lot of pop culture.
In the gym, during the disco BMX boogie dance off.
We getting into that, man?
What were the twins wearing?
Bro, they were wearing fashion, bro. What you talking about?
Space suits?
I guess they were space suits from V or something like that I've seen. And just the vibe, bro, that dancing. And you had mentioned something as like, I always talk a lot of crap. I give a lot of current culture crap about how disgusting and sexual dancing is.
It was so
It was pretty damn sexual,
They
bro.
were grinding.
They were grinding in a very 80s fashion.
I was like, isn't this supposed to be a high school dance?
No, it wasn't. There was like this weird, it was like at the high school, but it was
parade.
It was an extension of the parade. It was a part of the whole show, the whole song and dance of them coming into town, showing a parade, doing a qualifying track, all to lead into this dance. It was more like a promotion.
She's
promoting.
gliding through. She looked really good during that dance, though. It was very like disco.
The lights, bro, so 80s. The blue and the pink,
the sequins
magenta,
on her and on crew.
Yeah,
crew wearing
man.
sequin pants.
Bro, those like GGs to the production crew that like oiled those bikes, bro. Crew's bike is so shiny, bro. And he's spinning the handlebars. And there's this shot that I freaking love where they're spinning and like the handlebars are spinning.
Yes.
And they're just like, I feel like they're probably like on a dolly.
Yeah.
And it's just on a track, a circular track.
Rotating them.
And it's rotating. I freaking love that.
Really
dude.
good.
Hal, the director, he got a lot of really cool shots. We mentioned,
Yeah.
one of the freaking shots, and it's always like the bike is front and center.
Yeah, it's
bike,
all about the
bike,
bikes.
bike. There is this one shot, one of my favorite frames in the whole film is after they go ass sliding. And they're all wet. You get a little wet after some ass sliding.
Yeah.
They are back in the lumber mill. They're back in the headquarters, Crew's headquarters.
Yep.
And they got their little
They cozying up next to a fire.
And in the back behind Crew, you see the bike is upside down, like drying out.
Yeah, because he rides his bike into the water. Like he throws it into the water.
Was it after the ass sliding or was it after?
It's later.
Because didn't they just like jump off into a freaking creek?
They go like riding bikes again. And
So
he's
they
like,
went into
"Come
the
on."
water twice?
Twice.
Okay.
That Canada water's cold, man. I don't know what they were doing. They were like, we're going to get these people wet.
He was going balls out, you know what I'm saying?
Wet.
But yeah, that way he framed that shot where you have the
really
bike,
cool.
yeah, and behind him, and Crew's just kind of like daydreaming. He's just thinking, and
There's a lot of really good shots in that movie. I think one that you mentioned specifically was where there's the shot of the twins and the main villain dude, Bart Bart the man.
They transition to 3 different elements.
It was wild.
It goes from like Crew and Lori to like the Corvette, the car with Bart and the twins, Rex and Rod, and then they drive away, and then the corporate guys come in.
It just kind of pans over.
It was a really good shot.
Like all in one.
Speaking of shots, bro, what was up with those transitions that made your like eyes go?
Maybe we just watched a really bad like copy of it, or maybe that was just a bad transition.
Well, it was a copy from the future.
Yeah.
But no, there was like those transitions where like everything, it's like your
weird.
eyes are going cross-eyed.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is happening?
Product of its time.
Malfunction. Yeah.
It was weird.
People in the audience and their fucking eyes were crossing. They're just like, what is this movie? This is trash.
You need 3D glasses for those
I
ones.
guess, man. Interesting. As a child, and I think what this movie embodies is you are at home, whether it's your guardian, your parents, your mom, your dad, your grandparents. They set the rules, right? And you talked about rules in this movie. A bike to a child is the embodiment of freedom. And riding away from home into the great unknown till the street lights come on as the sun sets. And I think that's what Hal was going for, especially with like the red sky and the way he was able to capture that feeling of a boy on his bike falling in love, breaking the rules,
breaking the ice.
Breaking the ice, yes. That's probably one of my favorite things about this film and what it means and what it means to me, because it takes me back to my childhood.
Learning how to ride a bike.
My grandparents got me a blue Huffy.
Great.
You know, you got your pegs on the back, your friend can jump on. They even showed that when Crew picks his sister up
from school.
And he was like ready to take a shower, and he like rides up onto the lawn when there's like a sprinkler, and she's like, oh, Crew! You know,
she's on the back, just holding on.
And it just embodies so much of my youth. And I can see why the further away we get from the release of this film, the bigger and bigger the following of this film grows, is because you can watch this and it does take you back.
To being a kid. And just riding a bike, being outside, and enjoying the freedom of the wilderness and friendship.
Bill Allen mentions like what it means to him, and he uses this term of when you ride a bike, there's this feeling of bliss. And I love how he talks about that, and it's true. And he even said, you know, in his older years, all these years later, on how if you can find a hobby that gives you that bliss, whether it's rollerblading, jogging, the momentum of going forward on like an axis of the earth, like moving forward, and the freedom and the bliss that happens to in your brain and in your body, and that feeling, if you can find that, like keep that hobby in your life.
Hold on to it.
Hold on to that, because that feeling of freedom is such a reliever to whatever you got going on in your life.
And there's a really beautiful part in this movie, and I kind of want to close the episode on this because I feel like you, me, and maybe a lot of people out there can relate to it. Probably everyone who's ever ridden a bike, is that feeling of being on a bike and having a parent, whether it be your dad, your mom, your grandma, whoever taught you how to ride a bike. And they're holding you, pushing you, making sure you're stable, learning how to ride, and then they let go.
Yeah.
And it's all on you.
It's magic.
You are now riding the bike by yourself for the first time ever. And I related to that, and I'm sure you can too. And it was just really beautiful part of the movie.
Glad we got to experience it, man. Whether you're into competition, breaking the rules, running from the law, or getting the girl and falling in love, this film has something for everyone.
So as we close out on this nostalgic adventure, we're gonna hop on our bikes and ride off into the sunset.
Because nostalgia is rad. BMX freestyle forever.